My name is Jennifer Krouse, and I'm not quite as tall as I am. In the next 6 minutes, I am going to try to convince you that the idea of agility is bigger and more important than we're used to thinking. And I came to this thinking myself last fall when I got this message from from the group that's developing the first master plan for my hometown in 40 years. They had been about this for over a year by the time I got this message, and so I saw this as good news, that a sign that they were finally getting somewhere and making progress. And then I began to have second thoughts. How can there be a last chance to inform a city plan that's going to stand for decades? Why do they stand for decades in my neighborhood? For places which are dynamic and require frequent, small adaptations, we've created a process that's designed to get a large job done for a long duration. Our places demand agility, but we're addressing them with processes that aim to achieve economies of scale and scope. So this is really dumb, right? I mean, you should not be using one system to address something that responds in an entirely different way. But we're not so dumb as all that, actually. Economies of scale have been delivering advantages to our society for so many generations that we've forgotten that it's possible to take them too far. So now we've reached the point where bigger and better creates diseconomies. And those diseconomies grow as we push the tools of scale in our attempts to become more and more efficient. We do this not just in the world of planning and governance, but also in the corporate world. And in the process, we place a big burden on the institutions that are supposed to guard our prosperity. This burden comes in two forms. It comes in the form of risk. So our oversized systems create so much downside risk that we'll go to enormous lengths to prop them up. So too big to fail, that actually just means so big that we're unwilling to accept the downside risk of our oversized systems. The burden also comes in the form of waste. So now it takes an excessive amount of resources to create a good outcome for just about any kind of project, including the projects that we engage in our cities. So what does this mean for us as urbanists? First, it means that we're mistaken if we think that the problem of our time is a shortage of resources. The American people are richer than Midas, and most nations as well. Our feeling of scarcity is actually just a symptom of the fact that risk and waste from overscaled processes are driving down our productivity. And how it works is very simple. When productivity is low, it takes more resources to get stuff done. So resources seem scarcer than they are. So what we have to do is not get more resources or learn to live with less. We have to redeem our productivity so that we can use our resources to get stuff done. And we can do this by rebalancing our scale-driven processes with agile ones, where agile thinking will become more productive for us. So the second implication of this situation that we're now operating in is that slotting an agile practice into a scale-driven system isn't enough. It's like putting a townhouse on a strode. You don't get urbanism by picking away here and there at the elements of sprawl. Similarly, our communities won't become agile by reforming a very limited set of processes. To gain agility, we have to develop a fundamentally different calculus and practice that calculus throughout the system. Otherwise, the system of scale will overwhelm our attempts to be agile. This is a big job, as you can imagine, because it touches everything we do, from governments to the process of actually producing, developing real estate. Fortunately, we're not in it alone. Manufacturing began dealing with this challenge soon after World War II, when Toyota developed a new kind of production system in order to compete successfully with the giants in Detroit. Little Japan, right after the war, after having just been devastated, could not compete on the basis of scale. So they had to compete by becoming more agile than our car companies were. And Toyota was so successful at creating value in this way that they inspired similar movements in software development and in entrepreneurship more recently. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can build our own agile practices on a foundation of insights that other industries have already established. And for those of you who are interested, I've actually compiled a list of those insights. These are the principles that guide agile thinking in manufacturing, in software development, and in entrepreneurship. And I've assembled these principles into kind of a two-page cheat sheet for our use as we try to reinterpret them for our sphere of influence. Mike Leiden, Tommy Pacello, Carrie Hayes, and I are working to tease out what these principles would look like if we adapt them to our places. And we wholeheartedly welcome your contribution to that conversation. I hope you'll get in touch with us if you'd like to discuss this some more. If this group, meaning the people who care about places and want them to prosper, succeed in developing a system of agile practices for places, we won't have to wait 20, 30, or 40 years to develop plans for our communities. We'll have a process that allows plans to evolve with our needs, and the projects that we develop to grow our communities will flow steadily through the systems that we develop instead of getting caught in the constipation that distinguishes development processes today. It would be really, really beautiful, I think, to live in a world where we can get stuff done. So I look forward to talking with you about this and hearing your thoughts on how we can